So my name is Evan Hoese. I coach the Serengeti Elephants. And a little bit of background, I'm a player and a coach for All Blues, which is a rugby club up in NorCal. And I also am the director of Pac Coast Grizzly, which is an under 23 national team development program. I have a great passion for coaching, development of players, and growing rugby in the US. Yeah, so I think selecting for these kinds of tournaments is always interesting because a lot of cases you've never actually worked with the players before. So I think a lot of things that we look for in players who are highly skilled, who have a passion for the game, who want to grow, who want to excel, really players who are going to take advantage of these kinds of opportunities to up their game to the next level. And the other thing are some of those intangibles. So players who are great teammates, who put in the work off the field, don't just sit on their laurels, if you will. Those are the kind of players that for me as a coach are my favorite to coach because they care, they want to be there, and they want to work hard for the team, not just for themselves. Developing culture, especially in such a short time frame, right? With players from all over the world, with players you may never have even met before, they haven't met each other. I think it's so important from the start, right out of the blocks, is for them to get to know each other, not just on a superficial level, but you really have to understand what makes each other tick, right? And so some of that is expectation setting up front, right? So we can say, this is who we are, right? Based on everything that you all bring to the game, right? For elephants, we're gonna be physical. We're gonna know that everyone coming and playing against us, that it's gonna be a tough match. It's gonna probably hurt, right? But we know that's our brand. We are physical, we are powerful, and we back each other, right? So even if something is not flowing the way it's supposed to on paper, right? We're gonna be there, we're gonna support each other, we're gonna surround our teammates and get them going, get them pumped up, if you will. So I think that's a really big thing about the elephants, and that's something we had to set at the beginning, establish as the culture, and then you just have to keep reminding players, keep showing them, having them model it, and it really helps also to have leaders, who embody that as well. So picking your leadership team and having people really step up and show that in practice and in games, I think makes a huge difference. For the Serengeti Elephants, the name itself, with this whole series, with the championship, each team is supposed to represent kind of a region of the world. We have a number of players currently from Kenya, have a player from South Africa, and I think just the elephants in general, elephants are powerful creatures, I would say they're led by women, so that's a big plus, but really they're powerful creatures who work together as a team, right? You don't often see an elephant alone, right? You see elephants together, they work together, they support each other, and that's been a theme for us throughout this, right? Is creating that unity, that family, circling to protect the herd, if you will. And so I think that mentality and the name really go hand in hand with each other. This team differs in a lot of ways because it is kind of a performance culture. Most of the teams that I've coached, it's more of a development focus, right? I coach Division II or I coach college, whereas this is kind of you're straight into the fire, where the players show up and within 3 days, we need to play a game. Right? So it's all about precision, learning each other, and getting on the same page with language and general shape. That is a different ball game from, hey, I've got 20 new rookies just trying to learn rugby. So very different feel from kind of anything that I've coached before. And it's been a really good learning opportunity also working under Coach Dave and learning about kind of his strategies and dealing with these different kinds of environments. But I also think, all of these players are from so many different areas. So I think that's been one really unique thing about this team is really exciting to see players from so many different areas all over the world come together under one identity for, this series, for this championship. That is something that is really magical and really fun to watch as a coach, is seeing that those friendships, right, those relationships get built. As far as like a breakthrough moment, I think there have been many, but I think one in particular that really stuck out to me. So I've been focusing on defense, I think, for the team. And, one of our big emphasis was, really working off the line, coming up and supporting each other from the inside. And I think it was about the second weekend, right? We were running through training, and all of a sudden someone playing on the attack stepped back inside and just got walloped by a wall of people coming up from the inside. And I think that was something that to me was really special, because it was that the players not only understood what we were going through, but they could actually see, like, this is why we're doing it. This is the impact it has, right, on making teams frantic, on making the attack frantic, if we can apply the pressure this way. And so I think for me, it was really exciting to see, and it was a real light bulb moment for the players about why we're doing this way. Because I think one thing I'll add on to that is not only are players coming from so many different places in the world, but they're also coming from their own teams with their own defensive structures, their own attacking structures, and their own roles on those teams. And they have to, as players, almost leave a lot of that aside and now learn how we want them to play defense, how we're going to play offense together, what is their role on this team, which might differ from what they are on their team back home. And that's a learning curve for players, and so if you've been running the same defense for 10 years, and now you're being asked to implement something new, I think that's where it's really cool to see players be like, okay, I'm in it, I will try your method, and let's see. And then for them to actually see that in action and feel it, I think is a huge moment. So for the elephants, the kind of a unique cultural thing that I would say honestly was very player driven. And so I can't take any credit for this, but I think it's really unique to the elephants, and it's something that I love seeing in action. Is before games, before training, they get together, and there's this like song chant that includes like the women, the men all together. And over the course of the series, they have added components to it over the series, right? And so it's so cool to see what used to be kind of like a 30-second chant song, everyone's in it, everyone's feeling the vibe, and now all of a sudden it's like a minute. It's a minute 30, and it's including different aspects from different people's cultures. Different people will run it at different times, and just to see that unity and like see everyone's face just lights up as soon as they kind of hear the intro to the song. Everyone lights up and they're so ready and they're so engaged. And I think honestly, if you started playing it here, every other team would be like, oh, the elephants are at it again. It's known, and the players are known for it. And I just love that they built that for themselves. Because I think as a coach, sometimes your place is actually just to make space for your players to do that. And then a lot of times I think the players do a good job of keeping that culture alive and building on that. And so it's your job is to create space to model it, right? And to support your leaders in that process. I love seeing players who they're gonna put the team first, right? And that doesn't mean not advocating for yourself. I'm a player's player, right? Like I really think you should advocate for yourself, but there's advocating for yourself, right? And then there's being kind of an individual and setting the team aside. And I think those are two different pieces. So I think that's a really big piece, looking at the team as a whole, supporting your teammates. I think some other values that I really appreciate in our players is kind of that grit, determination. So that's putting in the extras, after practice, getting your kicks in, right? Doing your passing work, doing your recovery, right? Doing all of those little things that are going to make sure that you are at your best to perform on game day. And I think the third thing is kind of being your players' hype man, right? So it is so easy to know what other people are not good at. But like I love to see is when I can go around and the players can say, oh man, that player is excellent at this, right? You know, that player is so good in the air, right? When you know your teammates' strengths, when each of the players know each other's strengths, that's when you can have true connection, right? Because then they're playing to each other's strengths, and that's when you see beautiful rugby coming into play. So I think those three things are really the biggest pieces to me, is that, you know, team first mentality, right? It's knowing kind of each other's strengths and hyping it up, telling them, right, what their strengths are. And yeah, I think all of those pieces really fit together into my values for them. For me, I've played tens, but I had never coached tens before. So this was a real learning opportunity for me. And I think what you see are there are some coaches who would definitely take more of a sevens approach to it. Some coaches take more of a 15s approach to it, right? I would say in our lineup, I feel like we've taken more of kind of a 15s style approach, just because of kind of the players we have. And leaning into that, leaning into our physicality and our power and all of those kinds of things. So I think a big piece of that to adapting your coaching, whether it's 7s, 15s, 10s, is actually getting to know your player pool, especially when you're on a quick turnaround time like these kinds of championships, because you could have the best plan in the world, but then if your players, right, if it's not the best plan for them, you're not going to be successful. So you really need to think about what players am I bringing in? Do they fit our existing plan? Do I need to tweak that plan a little bit? And then you need to be able to be flexible once you start actually playing it, whether it's working or not working, right? You need to figure out, is that because I need to spend more time with the players, making sure they're on the same page? Or is it something that we actually just need to change about the plan? And I think sometimes we as coaches can forget that second portion, where maybe we need to adjust the plan for our players rather than players always adjusting to the plan. So I think that's something that I've learned a lot about while here, is not just about coaching tens, but also about how can we make sure we're fitting it to our players' strengths. I think I would like to leave the players, as for like a lasting impact. I know it probably sounds a little trite, but I want them to come away from this experience with just an increased joy and love of rugby, and with the knowledge that they can play at a higher level, right? With the confidence that like they are an excellent player, right? And that we have helped them get there. So even in this short 4-week, 3-week period of time, that me as a coach has helped them on their journey to be the best possible rugby player that they can be, you know, and that they enjoyed it. I've played at a higher level as well, and I think as soon as you stop feeling joy and love of the game, your performance is going to drop because you aren't doing what you love. So I think that has to be included in kind of everything. So I hope they walk away from here knowing that they're a better rugby player and that they're enjoying it and that they love it. They love rugby.